ended up going to this rave in a cave, and like everybody from like the kids in the street to their grannies were in this place. Most nights with me end up with getting pizza of varying qualities, I would say.
Alright guys, what's the crack? Welcome back to Pub Chats and a Pint, sponsored by Harp, where we sit down with local interesting people from Belfast in a local pub. Today we are in the Errigle Inn, joined here today by the legendary pizza maker, that is Marty Duggan of Pie Guy fame. And Marty, you're based out of Trademarket?
Yes.
Interesting wee spot right there in the city centre. I've been at your spot so many times. I've eaten more pizzas from you than I care to admit, and so I'm delighted to have the chance to sit down and get to hear a wee bit more of your story. Cheers.
Indeed. Cheers.
You're welcome. So, broken bones. Talk to me.
Yeah, I've broken a lot of bones.
Like, define a lot.
I don't know, I counted it up one time with my brother-in-law. I'm pretty sure it was near 20. Yeah, like I've broken the same bone multiple times. I've broken my small finger. Even like recently, I had another hairline fracture, and I've broken it like so many times. It's like really messed up looking. I've done that like 4 or 5 times. I've broken a couple of other fingers. Broken my nose, broken my cheekbone a few times.
Oh, the cheekbone?
Yeah, three breaks in my leg, a break in my ankle. Trying to think if there's anything. I've done like a few dislocations as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, is there repeat activity, or are you just like
So you mostly Gaelic football. I know, like it's hard to believe that you could do that many injuries. But yeah, also very clumsy.
This is your local?
This is my local. I would say it's up there with the best bar in Belfast.
Whoa.
Yeah, for sure. It's different. It's not a like a city centre kind of packed full of tourists bar, which is the reason why I like it. It's a proper local pub. If you speak to anybody around the Ormeau Road, like I can guarantee you, if you've lived here for a long time, you'll have some significant, occasion that you have spent in this bar, or the vast majority of people will have. So yeah, it's a bar that holds a lot of fond memories for me. I used to literally live about, I would say, 15 yards from the front door.
Your first memory, very thematic, very on topic.
I don't know if I could put a specific thing that I could point to and say that is the first thing that I remember, but like a lot of my childhood memories, like early childhood memories, revolve around food and dinner time and family gatherings. My folks were like very liberal parents, like really actually for their time, but they didn't have too many rules for us. But one rule in our house that you just did not ever break was not being at family dinner at 6 o'clock. You would need to have had a really good. You would need to have been out at a club or something, in terms of like a sports club or having an after school event to be able to miss family. There was no, I'm going to eat my dinner in the living room, or it was 8 people, like there were 6 kids in our house, and mum and dad sitting around the family dinner table every night at 6 o'clock. And there was one meal served, and my mum was an amazing cook, like really kind of like, quite far ahead of her time. Like whenever we were growing up, like I would have been eating curries and pastas and all that kind of stuff.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
And this is like in the 80s and early 90s, and my friends,
people didn't know what a pineapple was.
No, like absolutely. Like my friends used to come over and be like, "What is this?" Like I've never seen this before, but a lot of my early memories like revolve around that kind of social setting of having food and people kind of conversing and talking about their day over dinner. It's something that has stuck with me for my entire life.
It's interesting. So where was home for you?
I was born in Belfast, but my mum and dad. So I was born in North Belfast. But we moved to Newry whenever I was quite young. So we moved to Newry whenever I was, I think, 2, because at that stage, so it was like 85, 86, like things had gotten quite hairy.
Sure.
And there'd been an incident where my dad was kind of caught up in a bit of a thing on the Ormeau Road, and I think it just was a bit too close to home. He was just, kind of in the wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. And it was just a bit too close to home, and I think they just made the decision to kind of get out of it, So they're still there. They're still in Newry, and I would see Newry very much as home.
Yeah. So, a lot of people have grown up around the dinner table. Mm. Very few people, it touches them in such a way, or it's like so baked into their psyche that they kind of like follows them kind of later in life. What is it about it that you think kind of really resonated with you?
I don't know. I was always into cooking, even whenever I was in school and stuff. And the really early TV shit. I'm talking like old school MasterChef, Ireland, Paul and Jeannie Rankin type of stuff, and Lloyd Grossman type of TV programs. I remember all those whenever I was a kid, and I think because my mum was such a good cook and there was so much time spent around the kitchen that it was always something that I was into. I always kind of wanted to make my own food, and it was only after I'd come out of university and I finally then found my feet, I suppose, in an industry that I really liked, operating on the other side of the pass, actually supplying restaurants and having the knowledge of what it is like working in a kitchen was a huge help of being able to go in and say, okay, well, I know what this restaurant's about, what you're using, and would you think about buying some stuff from me, I suppose. And I did that for over 10 years and I loved it, but I always kind of at the back of my mind wanted to go back and give it a crack, but under my own steam, not really working for anybody else. Whenever lockdown came, gave me a bit of an opportunity to do that, and I suppose I never really looked back after it,
Brilliant. So growing up in the 80s, what was the pizza scene like in the 80s?
Do you know what? Genuinely, right? So one of the very first memories that I have, and I can't think of an earlier memory that I have, is eating pizza from a place in Newry called Little, and it was like ham and mushroom classic. It stuck with me as being this is so amazing. This is bread and cheese and tomato on it. I remember going home to my folks and being we have to really buy pizza. My mum and dad wouldn't have been great ones for getting takeaways. As I say, my mum would have made everything from scratch. But honestly, looking back on it, I have such fond memories. Now I'm a bit of a pizza snob, obviously. So I don't know what it would be like now, but it was great at the time. So
there's a theory that I love. I don't even know who it was. I think it was a marketing guy, Seth Godin maybe. He talked about how, for a lot of people, the first pizza you have almost becomes your nostalgic barometer.
For sure.
And so you can go around everywhere else, you can have these class pizzas, but you're but it just doesn't taste like that Texas barbecue from that wee pokey place at home. Do you know what I mean?
No, of course. No, definitely. I think that's the same with every time that you kind of discover new cuisine that really that taste sensation. It's very hard to replicate. You only get a handful of those in your life, and every one of them sticks with you. You can think back to all of the amazing meals that you've had and be able to point and say, well, it was that dish or it was that exact thing that I ate that really gives me that memory.
So if you were in a death row situation, I'll not ask you for your 3 courses just to make it a bit easier. One thing that you could get your ma to cook you.
Oh,
what would it be?
Do you know what? It would probably be something really simple, like a chicken pie or something. She does an amazing chicken pie. She does really good pastry. So it would be probably something like that. Or a lasagna or something just really simple, something that kind of or shepherd's pie, something that just kind of reminds me of that kind of sitting around the table thing again.
Getting home from GA, cold winter, just hitting your bones.
For sure.
It's good.
Yeah.
When you start making pizza yourself?
Oh man, I've been obsessed with pizza for a long time. Genuinely, really, obsessed with pizza for a long time. I probably, again, the first time I probably made pizza, like from scratch. I don't know, I'm sure it's 15, 20 years ago at this stage. I found actually some photographs from about 7 or 8 years ago. So I had this like old like barbecue thing that we had bought a pizza stone and just thrown into on top of the barbecue, and I used to light this barbecue with like all kind like wood that you would buy like, in the local shop on charcoal to try and get like mad heat into it.
Yeah.
And like no thermometers or anything, just being like, yeah, that looks like it's roasting hot, because that's what you need to do like pizza on, you know. So I started like making pizza, I suppose, in this like hack barbecue thing, and I had this idea in my head that how good they were at the time.
Oh yeah.
And then my wife actually said to me, "Oh, I came across these photos that popped up in my like Google thing. They are so bad. I'm not joking. Like if somebody like served you one of these pizzas, you'd be like, give me the bill. In fact, don't give me the bill. Give me these for free, and I'm leaving right now." Like they looked so.
Iceland takeaway frozen.
Oh, like Iceland takeaway frozen would have been like 10 steps up. Like it looked so awful. But then I suppose like I started to get a bit better at it, you know, and using that kind of barbecue thing was fine, but there was no consistency around it. Mm-hmm. And then whenever the likes of the Uni and Gosney rock boxes came out, I remember seeing one of them and was just like instantly, I said to my wife, I'm buying one of those. And at the time they were like, I think they were about 600 or 700 quid. Yeah, they became much cheaper. But I was like, I'm buying one of those. And she was like, you can't spend 600 or 700 quid on like a pizza oven. You know, you're never going to use it. And I was like, I will definitely use that.
Watch me.
Yeah, every week. Like I started making pizza every week.
Wow.
And they got better. Not every week. Some weeks they got much worse. And you would be leaving half the pizza in the oven. But that was like 2018, 2019. And after that, then, as I say, like lockdown came early 2020. I had 6 weeks, and I was like, okay. I went on the like first or second day off. I was like, what I want to do with this time. I'm never ever going to get this again. So what I want to do. So I wrote out a list of things, and one of them was like, get much better at making pizza. And I started posting some stuff up onto my Instagram, and people started messaging me, basically being like, how can I buy this?
Wow.
And then, yeah, that's... Paiga had started by accident before that, just for a friend of mine who owns a distillery, or part owner of a distillery, had asked me to cater like an event kind of last minute for them. I kind of saw that as a one-off, like really as a one-off, because it was for a friend. Yeah. But then, as I say, whenever lockdown came, that's whenever we decided, okay, we're going to do this, you know, on some weekends. And by the time kind of had gone back to work, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do my own thing.
How do you like actually like make that big leap? You know, so it's a big thing from like, yeah, I've got a demand on Instagram and people are asking for weekend stuff. Like, at what point do you then like, no, I'm not going back to my job and I'm actually throwing myself into this? Because that's the scary bit, I think.
I always get another job.
Yeah.
But I don't think I ever would have, you know, forgiven myself if I hadn't have done it. So it gets to a bit of a critical mass where I'm the type of person that whenever, you know, I'm in work, like I want to be working and I want to be kind of pushing things forward all the time. And I found that I was kind of shortchanging myself and my boss a wee bit in my old job, and that just really didn't sit comfortably with me. You know, we were mates, and like we had a chat about it, and you know, I had still a really good relationship with the guys, you know, in the Henderson group, and you know, I'd kind of said, look, I'm too busy with this other thing. I think I need to give this a go. And they were like unbelievably supportive. Like cool. They actually had their conference down in Trademarket there a few weeks ago. They took like 500 people down to us, to like the whole Trademarket. It was amazing. On a Friday afternoon there, it was like insanely busy because like lunch service was still going on, but it was great. So they've been really, really supportive.
And so like you go from throwing pizza on top of a pizza stone in a barbecue to the last time I was in, you just got a brand new mad oven. Like it's Looks like a spaceship.
Yeah. So we've custom built oven there.
Custom
delivered.
built?
Oh yeah. They're all like, so it's a Pizza Master 732. Yeah, for us, it was a big change. Like I always wanted to get like a big wood fired oven, but just unfortunately with the situation of Trademarket, like we ended up having to go for an electric oven. It was never our plan, but like it's actually been such a blessing in disguise, because like it's allowed us to really experiment, with kind of like different temperatures, like different bake times, and like we've ended up like completely changing our style.
Wow.
Of pizza recently, because actually we found that the dough that we were doing previously, we weren't getting the results that we wanted out of it. So we were like, okay, well, we can kind of keep flogging a dead horse here, and allow our reputation to go into the toilet, or we can kind of change with this. We have the oven now, we're not getting rid of it. So like something needs to change.
There's no Amazon return on that bad boy.
Yeah, exactly. So, we've spent like the last kind of 6 weeks kind of dialing it, and we're still working on it, and we've just launched a new kind of range that we're doing as well, which is our kind of Roman slices, which is kind of big long slices.
Unreal.
90% hydration dough, so it's like so we can do all of that type of stuff, and we can kind of we're able to do lots of different styles of pizza in it, which is kind of giving us all, I think, a wee bit of a much needed creativity boost. Like there's some people out there that are like, my pizza is the best. And sorry, I don't mean my pizza, I mean their pizza. That people will say that, oh, my pizza is the best, it's this, it's that, it's the other. Like for us, on the team that I have working for me, like we are very aware that there's a lot of great pizza makers out there at the minute, in the UK and Ireland, and like we just want to be in a conversation about like being one of those really good pizza makers, and we know that we kind of have to kind of keep working and kind of honing our craft, as opposed to kind of saying like we let other people say that we're this or we're that, but like we don't, like we're never going to do that, because actually the day you start doing that is the day that you put a target in your back for people to say, nah, it's not that good actually.
Sure, yeah.
And it's like anything, you've good days and you've bad days.
Yeah.
God, like the first weekend that we had that new oven, some awful pizzas went out. I still have nightmares about that, man. I'm not joking. Like I woke up one night recently feeling like I was in that service again. Like it was like genuinely was like one of the worst days of my entire life.
Seriously?
It was so bad. It
Wow.
was awful.
Is there a trade-off between a good-looking pizza and a pizza that tastes good? So you're kind of caught up in this whole world of like food porn and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, can you ever over-optimize for looks that the actual taste of the product suffers?
There are lots of places out there that do that.
Right.
I honestly, I don't know how many Instagram followers that we have, but I know roughly how many I follow, which is about 1,500 or maybe 2,000, and I would say 65% of them are pizza accounts.
Nice.
So whenever I go to search anything, all that comes up in my grid is pizzas. And all I see are either like, rip-offs of Sally's in New Haven, or the Canotto pizzas, which are the really, really big, thick, puffy crust Neapolitan. Like, so they're about like 6 inches big, or maybe 8 inches big, and the crust's about 4 inches high. And, it looks great on an Instagram post, but actually, like, they don't eat that well. And like, unless you're, Sally's themselves, like, it's very hard. Like, there are some really good places out there doing like amazing things around kind of New Haven styles and kind of, New York kind of pizzas. But, there are very few that actually look well and eat well. Whereas like we're the opposite. We want stuff that tastes great, and I don't really, obviously I do care how it looks, but it's secondary to kind of what it eats like and what it what it tastes like, so that's our thing. You have to be constantly changing what you're doing. You have to be constantly evolving. If you're not, like, you're just going to end up like there's so many businesses that I see that have stuck to one idea that they've been doing for 10 years, and it's cool for a year or two, or maybe slightly more, but there are very, very, very few businesses that can say, this is our model and we're doing it, you know, we're going to do the same thing on day one as we're going to do, you know, after, you know, 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, like you have to be constantly changing. Working on it full time, you start to become really invested in the finer details. You know, like for us, like we're sourdough, we're organic as much as possible. That's the one thing I would say that has changed from day one to now, whereas I actually like really kind of like determined that the more suppliers, like any new supplier that comes on, is offering something unique to us, you know, or something that is like amazing quality that is going to have an impact on the eating process of the finished product.
Yeah. Al and I were talking about editing videos before you came in today, and we were saying how, you know, as we're thinking about like growing our teams and stuff, we're like, man, it must be so hard to like let someone else edit your video. You know, because it's like you have your own taste, you have your own way of doing things. You want it to be like this, you want it to be like that. How hard is it for you to like let somebody else make a pie guy pizza?
Do you know what? Actually, not that hard at all.
Look at this guy. This is why this guy's going to make it.
No, it is. But if somebody's good enough to do it, and they can do it really well, it's not that hard. But if somebody's doing it poorly, like it's torture. You'll have a lot of guys that come in and say, oh, well, I've worked in this pizza place for like the last 10 years. They're used to doing things a certain way, whereas like for us, we're trying to do things a bit differently, and we don't want people who are thinking conventionally. The two guys that I have working for me, you know, full time, we've like 6 staff, but there are 2 full time, and then there's 4 part time. But they've been with me from day one.
Wow.
And like I've been really lucky. So our kind of, I would say our head pizza maker is a girl called Ali McGinty, and she is like phenomenal, like a phenomenal. She just has a great eye for detail, and she's never worked with sourdough before. She's never worked with like different types of dough before. She's made lots of pizza, and she just came in as an open book. Basically said to me in the first day, "You show me how you want it done, and I'll follow what you want." She makes far better pizza than me.
Seriously?
Yeah, far better. Yeah, far better. Like she doesn't do any of the dough. She makes she builds the pizzas and launches them. But yeah, she's definitely a better pizza maker.
Launches them. I love that.
Yeah, you know, but you know, like we can't be the best at everything. You know.
Best pizza you've had outside of UK, Ireland? Is there anywhere that you're just like you've been to on your journey and you're like, mate?
Yeah, I've eaten a lot. Like this is the thing. I've eaten a lot of pizza and a lot of different styles of pizza. Still to this day, the best pizza I've ever eaten was in a place in Ireland. Go
for it.
So it's the restaurant's called Little Forest, but the guy running it at the time was a guy called Reggie White, who's like probably one of the best pizza makers, certainly in the UK and Ireland, but like further afield as well. He's seriously talented guy, and I tortured him to come and work with him for. I'd like literally like annoyed the man for years to come down and do a stage with him. You know, come down and work for free. And he had another guy working with him, a guy called Shane Windram, who now owns Bambino. So you have these 2 guys like just working together over lockdown in this like amazing restaurant. But the restaurant wasn't open. They were just doing pizza in the evening. And I went down and worked with them. And anyway, Reggie made me the first day that I was there, made me like a number of pizzas and said, look, try these and kind of see what you think. And like I remember just eating them and being like, man, this is like undoubtedly the best pizza I've ever eaten. And like I know less than fuck all here. Like, you know, it was like such a flex. I was like, I know nothing here. Like, you know, so yeah, I really need to kind of, you know, like watch everything that these guys are doing.
Yeah.
Which like honestly, I learned more in that week working with those guys than I did in the 10 years before it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredible. Like just like an incredible experience, and I'm still like pretty friendly with them, thankfully, to this day. And can, if I need a bit of advice on something, you know, they're always there to be able to, you know, if you can pick up the phone to them, they're just really nice guys who are seriously passionate about what they do. And I think they kind of saw, thankfully, that, you know, I was I'm not saying cut from the same cloth in terms of talent wise, but certainly had the same kind of passion,
yeah.
you know, about trying to get good at it. So they kind of took me under their wing, thankfully. And
Love how you just went for it and it all worked out.
indeed.
Talk to me about eating pizza in Cuba.
Oh yeah. I'd love to actually. I'll have to hook out some photos of this. My wife and I went to Cuba in like 2016, but we ended up going to this like rave in a cave, and, like partying with like
Dr. Zeus.
honestly, it was fucking the weirdest night. It literally was in a cave with like a DJ way up in like the gods somewhere, like smashing out tunes, and like everybody from like the kids in the street to their grannies were in this place. And after you go, like there's this like local pizza restaurant that everybody goes to, and like honestly, like there are photos of like us eating pizza with like honestly like 90-year-olds in this wee restaurant that like I don't know how many thousands of people fit in that cave, like, but everybody just descended on it after it.
Wow.
But yeah, it always most nights with me end up with getting pizza of some kind of varying qualities, I would say, depending on how late it is and where you are in the world.
Yeah, but like the later it gets and the hungrier you get, the better the pizza tastes regardless.
Totally.
You know?
There's no such thing as bad pizza.
The perfect ingredient.
You know, there's only varying levels of good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Final question.
Yes.
If we could turn the Errigle Inn, which is located on the Ormeau Road, into a time machine and go back, say, to an 18-year-old version of Marty, what sort of things would you say to him if you had a couple of minutes of his time?
Go and whatever you're interested in doing at the time, give it a bash, because for a long time I was so kind of worried about what other people would think of me. Whatever you are really good at, people are willing to pay money for it. So, you know, having an education is great, but it's not the only thing.
Yeah, like what I'm hearing from you there is like just like pick something and do loads of reps in it and
Yeah.
have that like continuous improvement.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
attitude to it.
Yeah, the 10,000 hour thing is...
How many pizzas do you reckon you've launched? That's hard. That's very hard.
I tried to work out one day. Well, I know in Trademarket, I know, because like obviously we use all those smart till systems and all that kind of stuff, so I know, you know, roughly, but it's like well into the tens of thousands. Like, yeah, well into
Mate,
it,
that's mad.
yeah, which is crazy, like whenever you think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tens of thousands. You know, like we sell anywhere kind of between, you know, 500 and 1,000 pizzas on like a really busy week. Yeah, it's something that you kind of you get better at doing it, but it'll never be perfect. Like we still make a load of balls up every week.
Sure.
So you know you can only kind of try and get that down every week. That's the goal.
Awesome. Well, Marty, I'll give you another cheers here.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it.
Enjoyed
Really
it.
love the chat. Really good crowd. Good to find out more about you as well. Thank you so much to the Errigle Inn once again for letting us have this conversation in this lovely oak bar room. Thank you so much to Harp for making this episode possible, and thank you so much for listening or watching, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. Cheers. Thanks again.